2024 Copa América transfers. We're going to dive into all these topics here in episode 161. How are you doing, Breton? How are you feeling with all this?
Lack of sleep is setting in. I'm just it's coursing through my veins. The anticipation for the Copa America, which is here on our shores, but also, I mean, it has not disappointed the first few matches of the Euros. I mean, we're talking goals galore.
True.
No real upsets, I would say, but some real exciting stuff, and like led by a bunch of young kids. Like, how about that? And we'll dive into that, but also we can't go another episode without starting to trickle in the transfer news because it's heating up. Wonder Kids galore on the move. Palmerish Wonder Kids on the move.
True.
It's pretty amazing stuff. So I'm excited. I mean, we got to start with the Euros, right? All the action?
Completely, Breton. And you said no disappointment. That was a huge disappointment with Scotland, in my point of view. The anticipation that Scottish fans were telling us we're going to go through the group for the first time in our history. No can do with a 5-1 loss in the first game. That cannot happen. And to complete with what you said, Euro 2024, 16 goals in the first 4 matches. It's going to be goals all over the place. And just wait when Portugal starts on Tuesday, because goals will definitely come from that game too. And it's Portugal scoring those goals. I got to, Preston. And history. We've seen history in such a short period of time in Euro 2024. And it's not Portugal going bold. It's Albania. Albania, 24 seconds. It's the fastest goal ever in the history of the Euros. Silvinho ball with a mistake of Di Marco that I was totally unexpected, okay? He was in my fantasy. Totally unexpected, but yeah. The opportunity came and Albania went bold. What a game it was, Brett.
It was. It's like a mini rivalry going on between Albania and Italy. And if you're Albanian, you have to be proud of that result. Not the result, I should say. I think they wanted more from that, but definitely of how they matched up against Spalletti's Italia. But I do have to say, I mean, I know there was mistakes early on. There will always be mistakes with young center backs. But Riccardo Calafiori, Alessandro Bastoni, I mean, you're looking at two guys that I expect to be a massive part of the Catenaccio, a massive part of that defensive rear guard for Italia for years and years to come. And all I can say is I'm jealous. All I can say is I am just jealous to watch it. And I think that this is the type of team that will grow into the tournament. I think they wanted to see a better performance early on. Obviously, getting scored on within 20 seconds is not the way you want to start things. But coming back was a good showing, and it was great to see Chiesa. I mean, start to really rev his engines some with kind of a man of the match type of performance. Nico Barella was good. I mean, Italy's a good squad. I know we were throwing shade at them. I still think they're missing a real striker. Retegui, Scamacca, they've got to figure something out. Somebody's got to fly out of their cocoon. But man, I can't get past that defensive solidarity, that cohesion's only going to grow throughout the tournament.
Completely.
So we'll see.
Italy reacted really well because in 10 minutes they got the lead back after they scored a 20-second goal, okay? That is the fact that you let it go like that in such a short period of time, mentally, it can be very, very drowning. And they had the pressure, and they still made up for it. And yes, you said it first with Riccardo Calafiori. Riccardo Calafiori, if you watch Bologna, if you watch Serie A, you already knew what was going to come. One of the best ball-playing center backs in the world of football. Top 10 center back for the season he's had with Bologna and now for Italy. Riccardo Calafiori and Alessandro Bastoni are the replacements long-term for Bonucci and Chiellini, okay? So Italy is in safe hands completely. And Barella has scored more goals for Italy than Francesco Totti. Barella has 10 goals, and he will not stop now. More than 50 games played for Italy. He's a legend in the making. He's won a Euros. He's consistently the best midfielder, or one of the best midfielders in Serie A. In my point of view, he's underrated for how good he is and for what he deserves as a spotlight. He's world class for Italy when they need him. And Chiesa, you said it. Chiesa, Euros comes, Chiesa returns. Because Chiesa, he's going bold.
He is. We have to remember what happened, right? The last time around. True. He was going bold, right, in the last Euros, as you just mentioned. And then, the ACL tear.
And Allegri. And Allegri happened. Allegri. Allegri was playing Chiesa striker. It's obvious that a player like him needs the space, needs the quickness of him to be in action. Not a striker hold up play. He needs to be looking forwards at the goal. And now it's Luciano Spalletti. Spalletti is a tricky coach. And Italy are dark horses. I know they were winners in the last Euro, but for the team they have and for the output they can have and develop throughout the tournaments, I need to consider them a team that will be hard to beat in the next round, the knockout rounds. Definitely.
Yeah, and we for anyone out there for some reason that has been living under a rock, we need to remember what the trajectory has been for Italy, right? True. I mean, they win the Euros. They beat England on penalties to win the Euros, and then they miss out on the World Cup.
Second time.
Right? Don't qualify. Unbelievable, unprecedented. I mean, heartbreak all around. Probably cases of domestic abuse went up. That's not funny. That's not something to joke about, but like very bad times for Italy football after some of the highest moments in Italian football. And now they're back. They're back at the Euros. And this is the tournament, but this is a different coach. This is a very different set of players. I mean, I was almost aghast at seeing that Riccardo Calafiori, if I'm not mistaken, is like the youngest center back to start for Italy, or like the second youngest. There you go. You got that stat. The second youngest center back to ever start a Euro match for Italy. And that in and of itself at 22 is pretty cool. A little surprising, but pretty cool. It only made me wonder and wish that Giorgio Scalvini could have been here for this, because he would have set that up nicely. He would have broken that by 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. But listen, they're starting two center backs, right? Two left-footed center backs, which is pretty different. And Spalletti is not exactly Mr. Predictable when it comes to these things. So they have a lot of things going for them in this tournament, and I think they're going to grow into this tournament. And that should scare other teams, for sure.
And Juve fans, they should be scared too, Bretson, because the moment that Riccardo Calafiori starts, he shows that aura, Juve fans are like, look, he might not come to us, because now the whole world is watching. Chelsea need a player like him. Man United need a player like him. I might say even Real Madrid should be attentive, and they could need a player like him. So Riccardo Calafiori's future is now open, in my point of view. If in closed doors he signed those contracts with Juve that we don't know still, we cannot go against that. But right now, if he hasn't, it's open. Yeah. It's open.
that Thiago Motta, I think Bologna going from there to Juve, I mean, that might be the one that pushes it over the edge and gets him to finally sign there. But we will see. And we do need to remember Calafiori at one point. I think with whatever goes out the door, I think Basel holds quite a big sell-on percentage there. So it becomes a nice little payday for them, and Bologna will hope that they can, up the price when it comes to that. But Calafiori is great. And you mentioned Barella with Francesco Totti, but we also need to go back and mention Calafiori's look, right? The other thing that's been circulating around the interwebs is Calafiori, looks like Paolo Maldini did back in the day, right? With the hair tie around it, the long hair down. He's got that harkening back to the look of the 90s, early 2000s, and we'll see. We'll see if his play continues to reflect it, but he is a lot of fun to watch. And like I said, Italy, dark horse, yeah.
But mentioning Basel, I think it makes total sense to talk about a team that you definitely backed them, and I was skeptical, and I think they're going to go through after seeing this first game. 3-1 win from Switzerland against Hungary. Hungary were my dark horses. Szoboszlai became the youngest captain ever in Euros history, but Switzerland are a tricky team, and a tricky team that in the last Euros they did knock out France, and in this Euros, no one wants to face them. Are very hard to predict. Shaka, Akanji, and Embolo. Embolo played 5 games in Liga this season. No matter. He comes on and he makes the difference and he has a goal. This man is a player for international competition. Embolo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Completely.
I mean, he honestly shouldn't even play club level football. He just gets injured, right? He should just simply sit it out for the international tournaments and just wait. Be that goal scorer in waiting for Switzerland. And I still remember him coming up early on in the Bundesliga and how high people were on him. And I only wonder what Bril Mbolo's trajectory would have been if he could have stayed injury-free these past few years. I mean, multiple serious injuries. But you can't look past the pedigree, right? That's within the Swiss side. You mentioned Granit Xhaka, man of the match. He was everywhere versus Hungary. And then you have Jan Sommer, who won the Scudetto with Inter, one of the best shrewd signings of the summer, last summer, next to Marcus Thuram. Obviously, they went in there. But Jan Sommer was, he's steady Eddie in goal. But here, the pedigree continues because we mentioned Bologna's impact with Riccardo Calafiori and for Italia. Now, let's look at it for the Swiss. You've got Michel Eibischer, who had the ridiculous goal, probably the goal of the tournament so far, an assist, right? And he was on the ledger at Bologna. You have Dan Ndoye, who is a phenomenal dribbler and one of the most aggressive players on the field next to Noah Okafor, who I don't think maybe made it on late in the game. And then you've got Remo Freuler, who put in 30 plus appearances, I think, in Bologna's historic season this season, which got them back into Champions League football. And they'll likely all be there next season. Well, Freuler, we'll see because he was on loan. But it makes sense, right? I mean, club momentum, that feeling you're on a high of personal confidence. You've got 3 Bologna guys in the 11 that essentially know each other and have been playing with each other. And they just got it right. And Hungary, I'll be honest, there was nothing to lose 3 years ago, when Soboslai was injured, the guy that had really gotten them there. There was nothing to lose, and they could fight for it, but they wound up kind of falling out of it. And in this scenario, I think
I'll finish third.
The weight of the expectations, right? The weight of the expectations, sort of. Like, I don't think they're a minnow. They're also not a giant. They're somewhere between a minnow and a giant, where the expectations were they probably should have at least gotten a point against the Swiss, or at least beaten them. And I think that weighed on them quite a bit. So we'll see how they can bounce back. And we do need to recall that 24 teams are in this tournament. 16 get into the next round.
Exactly.
Right? So they're not out of it.
I think Hungary will be one of those third place because Hungary presents a good football, even though Switzerland, very tricky, tactically efficient. I was very not surprised, but I was very impressed because we've seen Switzerland do exactly this when they need to go bold. But in the same group, Germany now. It's now. Now everybody looks in Germany. And when I say France, Germany, and Portugal are my contenders ahead of England, people are not like, blasphemy, blasphemy. It's because Germany have what it takes to win in home soil. Julian Nagelsmann ball is real, and Florian Wirtz is fitting that one of the best players this season in football scored the first goal in Euro 2024. Real Madrid, if they get him next season with Xabi Alonso, that is destroying football, absolutely dominating. Every Champions League title will be going to this team. Oh my days. So yeah, Germany, wow, what an opening game by beating them 5-1.
Absolutely. And I mean, yes, it was expected, I guess, from a host. But this is a German team that had been beaten in the opening game of every one of their last 3 major international tournaments, right? Very unlikely it was going to happen on their home soil. Very unlikely that was going to happen against Scotland. But Scotland, it's as if they rolled out the red carpet for them, right? It's as if they just allowed them to just come on in. And I'll be honest, I was disappointed because that's not Scotland. That is not what we saw throughout the qualifying process. We saw guys that made it really, really uncomfortable for anyone anyone that they played throughout that qualifying process in a good way, right? And they did not make Germany uncomfortable. I mean, where was the they were the ones getting
not there.
Right.
Billy Gilmore not starting. I was surprised too. I do think tactically there were some issues, but Germany, I give more praise to Germany because it was just we predicted this because we know Jamal Musiala, we know Florian Wirtz, we mentioned Robert Handrich before the competition starts. We were expecting a reaction from Germany after a very poor World Cup for their standard, and now people are really looking at Musiala and Wirtz and saying, look, these two players are going to be top 10 players in the next 10 years. Now, only now. Look what it took, Bretson. It took a 5-1 win for people to start taking seriously in the international level Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala. Like, come on, people. And Kai Havertz did score the goal that's, can make him top goal scorer in the Euro 2024. So I do
one down.
Exactly. And I want to mention too Kroos, because Kroos is the epitome of efficiency. The glue, the veteran, the man that makes this team be the contender of winning the Euro 2024. Yes, Wirtz, Musiala, tremendous players, but Kroos is the leader that they needed, and Nagelsmann did a phenomenal job by convincing him to come back to this team with Toni Rudiger, Ter Stegen, Gundogan, many leaders. And Toni Kroos in this game, 99% pass accuracy, 101 passes and 102 possible. Unreal what he's doing.
And it wasn't all sideways and backwards, right? How most people, I get the critique on the whole pass completion thing.
The first goal,
I know,
he did fall, but the pass went to his feet.
And that's where it's a little bit ridiculous when you think of this. Like, it's Kimmich, Toni Kroos. You've got like the enforcer in Robert Endrick.
Kimmich at right back.
Kimmich at right back. But we saw that pinpoint, because obviously if it wasn't Kroos in there, it's likely Kimmich, right? But Kimmich at the same time, his passing ability, his ability to spot that. But he's the one that spotted Wirtz at the tippy top of that 18. Wirtz is the one that first timed it. Most guys would have tried to take a touch and then timed it, but no, Wirtz just knew. And they're already starting to fire on all cylinders, and it's still early days. This German team is going to continue to gel. They've got the home nation obviously behind them. It's scary, man. But I do have to say, you mentioned Wirtz. Obviously, he scored the first goal of the Euros. His ascendancy, and then he was knocked down a peg with a major injury. I mean, it's a Hollywood script.
To ACL.
It is. It is. It's a Hollywood script, the way he's come back from this. Then to lead Leverkusen to break the stranglehold that Bayern had on German football. Get him within a win away of a Europa League championship. And on top of that, he scores the first goal in the Euros. And now we're already talking about Real Madrid or somebody coming in for him, understandably so, and 21. Right? 21 years old. Musiala, 21 years old. And the one thing that I saw that obviously we didn't see for Wirtz, because there is no second nationality there, is obviously a lot of English fans lamenting. A lot of Chelsea fans lamenting of what could have been.
Even Fulham fans.
But no.
Even Fulham fans were saying, we had Jamal Musiala when he was 11. Oh, my days. But what I got to say on Jamal Musiala, he made the right choice by choosing Germany completely, okay? If he was playing for England, right now in Euro 2024, there would be a debate if he would start. Because Cole Palmer had a phenomenal season in the Premier League, and I don't believe he was going to start in the first game against Serbia. So the fact that, it's amazing to see Jamal Musiala making the right choice, and we can see it as football fans to just see youngsters making good decisions. We like that a lot here at FC Wonderkid. But let us know if you consider Germany the main contender to win Euro 2024, because Germany, France, Portugal, those are incredible matchups. But if it's not Germany, another team that impressed highly was how they dominated Croatia. Spain, Los Hermanos. Come on, that was unreal what we saw. And unreal is equals Lamine Yamal right now. Lamine Yamal, youngest to ever start in Euro 2024, youngest to record an assist, and Lamine Yamal is going to be the youngest to score a goal. We can all see it, and I'm going to say this. He's the best 16-year-old I've ever seen for a national team. I've never seen someone so comfortable and so confident to go against the Joško Gvardiol and get the best of him. Not at the start in the first 30 minutes, but afterwards, Joško Gvardiol couldn't contain Lamine Yamal. So we're dealing here with a generational talent.
That's the thing, is like the youthful energy. I thought it was actually ballsy for De La Fuente to start with Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. And there's that like bundle of energy, that like youthful naivete, that they just are relentless, and they just go at you and go at you and go at you. And but you can't do what they do if you don't have consummate professionals like Alvaro Morata, up top, and Rodri. I know there was the whole penalty call. I know there was whatever, but he obviously was still rock in the middle. And to get a guy like Unai Simon, who is much maligned, or I wouldn't say much maligned, I'd say like moderately maligned for past showings for the Spanish national team, to put in a pretty good shift for them. But all in all, I looked at it as kind of like youthful energy of Spain and fearlessness and technique and flair versus kind of like it felt like an older, more sluggish Croatia that, to be honest, the scoreline I don't think did it justice. I don't think they blew Croatia out of the water. I think it was much closer than people expected.
I think they dominated.
But
Modric?
they had their choice. They had their chances. They just didn't take them. And I think that's the difference between Spain and Croatia right now. They obviously had the penalty too, that didn't work out for them. And I know there's a lot of whatever.
Tactically, Spain dominated Croatia. Brozovic was a lot of times going to support the fullback to go against Lamine Yamal, and in many times left Fabian Ruiz and Pedri open. Many times. True. And even if we see the goal in which Pedri has the assist with Lamine Yamal at the right-hand side, Brozovic is the reason why that happens. So I believe that I was expecting more from Croatia. Most definitely. And I think they're going to learn from this, and they're going to react much better, okay? The real losers in this game, okay, Croatia lost the game, but the real losers are whoever's going to face Croatia afterwards. Yes, Italy and Albania. They might be losing these two games because Croatia, for sure, their mentality kings. They react with adversity. Now, Croatia is going to go bold. That is my prediction for you guys at home.
Is it an Argentina moment? Is it Argentina, Saudi Arabia, right? I mean, 3-zip scoreline. I know it's not the same as losing 1-zip or 2-1, whatever it was, to Saudi Arabia, but this is interesting. I mean, and we do need to remember that this is an older team. Yep. This is an older Croatian team. Obviously, you've got Joško Gvardiol in the back there, bringing the average age down. So yeah, it's put up or shut up time for Croatia. And I was waxing poetic about Zlatko Dalic. They've been punching above their weight for years and years and years with as little population as they have. So sometimes these things come to an end. I don't know. I don't expect it. As you said, these guys feed off of these types of mistakes, these types of learning opportunities, and I'm really, really interested to see how they respond to this. But I've got some weird things about Spain that I'm still trying to process here. Alvaro Morata with his goal becomes the third, moves into a tie for third with Antoine Griezmann and Alan Shearer, all time on the Euro list goal scorer, behind Cristiano Ronaldo and a certain Michel Platini with 7 goals. And Alvaro Morata, you can give him shtick for whatever you want to give him shtick for, but he's played for some of the best teams on the planet. True. And he seems to score. Now his 3rd Euros in a row, he's got a goal for Spain, and he seems to pop up when he needs to. Never like insanely brilliant, and also never insanely bad. He's just consistent.
For
right?
Spain?
Consistently consistent.
For Spain, I definitely see a different type of player than we see at club level. I completely agree with what you said. And it's interesting that Morata does this amazing feat of having now. Morata now has 7 goals in Euros ever, and he's got a 12 million release clause. Don't be surprised if a club's impressed by the performances of Alvaro Morata, because this team of Spain will be definitely hard to beat in the knockout stage. And we said it in the last podcast. Spain are a team to watch because the development of these players in this Euro, Pedri, Lamine Yamal, and many others, are going to improve a lot more for the World Cup in 2026, okay? Lamine Yamal in the next Euros is going to be 20 years old. And in the 2038 World Cup, he's going to be 30. He's going to be 30. That is mad. That's a longevity king if he gets it right. And we can see that playing for Spain and Barcelona, he's got that chip on his shoulder of wanting to be the best in the world. He's one of the best right wingers, dribbling-wise, in the world right now, okay? Definitely.
It's goofy.
It's surprising to me that Carvajal had his first game in the Euros. It was Carvajal's first starts in the Euros, okay? After scoring the UCL final. And his first goal, exactly. So Dani Carvajal, just like Lamine Yamal, is also breaking records. And that just shows he's an underrated player. The only player ever to start 6 UCL games, played his first start in the Euros at the age of 32. So that is quite mad in my opinion.
Bonkers.
And Pedri.
I had that one down too. But before we move on from that really quickly, just another, Cucurella deserves a mention. He was great in this game. Just like Alvaro Morata has made a career out of getting crap for literally just not being legendary all the time. Cucurella is in the midst of his kind of like, I can do some things. See, I'm a very serviceable player. I thought he was very good for them. I thought he was very good for Chelsea at the end of the season there. And it's springboarding himself into next season. I expect him to have a very good next season. And then I have to bring up Fabian Ruiz because I thought that was just, sorry, sir, I was not fully aware of your game, right? And that was just a goal and an assist. Beautifully taken goal, where he slalomed through and juked through quite a few Croatian defenders before slotting it pretty calmly at home. And you don't get to see that often. You don't get to see it for PSG. I saw it a little bit for Betis way back in the day, but when he moved to PSG, you kind of lost sight of him from time to time. And that's what makes him such a good player, I assume. And I've only heard great things about anyone that's ever managed him. So it's good to see him kind of take front and center, because a lot of people had the same epiphany that I had during that game. Like, okay, man, I didn't know you could necessarily do that. Good job.
And for scouts, I've spoken to many scouts in the last few years. A lot of scouts admire big time Fabian Ruiz. They say he's, in terms of stats and in terms of what you see, he's one of the most complete midfielders that you can get in the market. And that's why Luis Campos at PSG is like, no. This guy, he's got to come. He's got to come. But yes, a goal and an assist, quite fitting for the player that he is, that we expect for better things to come as long as the tournament goes. But if Fabian Ruiz wasn't there, if Gavi was there playing, Fabian Ruiz, I do not believe would be starting. So a very interesting tournament for Fabian Ruiz, because he's got to prove himself as a high-level player for Spain. And my last mention is Pedri. Pedri with an assist. Pedri with 100% passes completed. Pedri with 100% tackles won. And Pedri more involved offensively. I expect Hansi Flick to have a lot more goals with Pedri with his style of play. And Lamine Yamal, Pedri, a Gavi, a Hector Fort, the future of Spain and Barcelona is in safe hands with these players. It's beautiful to see what is happening in this national team. I'm very hyped for what we're gonna see. But let us know, people. Do you agree with what we said about the Euros? Let us know down below your thoughts. And will Spain, will Italy, will Germany, who will win Euro 2024? Is it one of the teams that we just mentioned? And more videos will be posted, people, okay, about Euro 2024. So subscribe to FC Wonder Kid and go bold and like this. So Ui, Bretson. Big topic.
Oh, man. Let's go.
Big topic because it's not just the Euros, the big tournament of this month. Copa América is also here, and it's in your home soil, Bretson, okay? In U.S. soil. And who better to speak than you about this competition, Bretson? Come on, you got to go bold with the U.S. men's national team drawing with Brazil. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I tried to watch
we can get there and...
But I couldn't.
Oh yeah, well
Only
that's
extended
the way I
highlight.
felt about one of those Euro games, the Hungary game yesterday.
What?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't get it anywhere.
In the
Fox
US, no.
subcontracted it. Yeah,
Oh
they
my God.
subcontracted it to Fubo, and you needed to spend $80 extra. I'm like, I already have like 25 subscriptions.
Poor.
Do I
So
need a
poor.
26th?
So
right?
poor.
But anyway, back to Copa America. You're right. I mean, listen, USA Brazil. I was very critical and have been very critical of Berhalter. And USA Brazil, he got the tactics right.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people know, they've played Brazil now 20 times. They've beaten Brazil once, and that was back to, you can trace that all the way back to a legendary goalkeeping experience, masterclass, Casey Keller. And then they lost 18 times, and they registered their first draw against Brazil recently. And I'm going to say the biggest change was not necessarily in Berhalter. It was more so in the players. The players melded to me like a 2002 World Cup 2002 mentality, or World Cup 1998, before we had the technique, before we had some technique, I should say, before we had players capable of playing on consistently on extremely large stages, which is where we're getting to now. But you had a grit, you had a hunger, a fight, a understanding with each other. Right. The old back in the day where we would fight tooth and nail, and we'd rely on our physicality more than our technique. And you saw kind of a melding of the two and what could be the case. Now, don't get me wrong.
No.
Brazil had plenty of chances, but we also had plenty of chances as well. And I'm going to say Matt Turner then made a mistake early on with distribution. Not shocking. We still don't have good goalkeepers that can play with their feet. But he then responded incredibly well, and he made 11 saves, which is the most for an American goalkeeper since Timmy Howard's 14 or 15 saves versus Belgium in the World Cup. And it was a hell of a performance. So it was more what you need to see if you're going to do well in the Copa America. But it just still, the coolest thing in the world would have been to actually beat Brazil. And you're right. Yeah, the biggest indictment was not on the U.S., the biggest indictment, according to Ronaldinho, was on Brazil.
Exactly.
Was on Brazil.
But we'll get to it with Group D now.
Yes.
If we could start now with Group A, Argentina, Peru, Chile, and Canada. How are we feeling with these four national teams? Look, from what I see, from my point of view, Group A, Peru, Chile, Canada, Argentina has to get 3 wins in 3 games. No contention, okay? And when I see this group, more likely than not, Lionel Messi will be the player of the tournament, because this is a start in the right way, okay? Because the bracket, as I see it, I'll say it right now at the start of the video because you guys deserve it. For me, the top 4 favorites of Copa América are Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and Colombia. And when you see the brackets, you only see Argentina on one side and then Colombia, Brazil, Uruguay on the other side. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like the final is in Miami. We know Argentina is going to be in that final now. It's like mad.
The final might as well be at Messi's house. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, I agree, and I saw that when the draw came out. But yeah, Argentina, Chile, Canada, Peru, Ecuador, Mexico, Venezuela, Jamaica. That's their pathway. That's their pathway. Ecuador is the scariest constituent, is the scariest participant in there.
Agree.
And that's it. So I agree. It feels odd, and we might also need to throw in there that there is no guarantee that Lionel Messi plays at the World Cup in 2026 because he's a little more injured, a little more often. You never really know. I agree that he will be there, but we can't take it for granted that he will be there. So there is a world where this could be Messi's last international tournament, even if it is for clicks. But listen, Messi's coming into this. They're top of the World Cup qualifying table as well. As you mentioned, it feels like an easy slalom run to the final in Miami. But they also are coming off of one of their most recent World Cup qualifying results was a 2-0 loss at the Bombonera to Uruguay. So, you could see, hey, you make it to the final. All that matters is Argentina repeating. And we need to remember how ridiculous it was and how momentous it was for Argentina to have won the Copa America before winning the World Cup.
Exactly.
They had not won the Copa America in a very, very long time. So this is going to be interesting to see whether or not they can go back to back.
Let me ask you this, Bretson. Knowing the bracket situation that we just showed to the people at home now, Messi in the last Copa America had 7 games, 4 goals, 5 assists. Player of the tournament. Seeing this side of the bracket that Lionel Messi has, is he going to do better? Because I think he could do better. He could do better.
He very well could. It comes down to whether or not there's rest rotation. If Scaloni if there's a different approach to the group stages, knowing that it's all the knockout rounds. But yeah, if there's a knockout expectation based on my predictions, it would be Argentina playing Mexico in the next round. I could see him putting up a couple goals against Mexico. Yeah, I think there's a good chance 9 goal involvements in 7 games gets eclipsed, or at least matched.
Exactly.
Easily.
Exactly. I get that growing feeling. And in this Copa America, Messi, by playing 1 game, will be the player with the most Copa America games in the history of the competition. And I think he's going to do better than the 9 goal involvements of the last Copa America edition. And he's the favorite towards being the player of the tournament. And you said it, Bretson. Scaloni deserves big credit for the situation that Lionel Messi and Argentina are now in. Copa America win in the last one. Finalissima win. World Cup now. They have momentum with them. We haven't seen Argentina lose a competition in a long time. So this is what people are expecting. An Argentina, strong Argentina in the final in Miami. And I got to respect too, the veterans, the core of Argentina are the reason why Messi is succeeding so much. And Emi Martinez, Rodrigo De Paul, Paredes, Di Maria, players that live with passion. Otamendi, passion means everything. And that's why Ronaldinho was critical about Brazil, because he doesn't see this amount of passion with the Brazil national team. So right now, he expects a reaction.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give that credit to Argentina because it's the football display and it's the emotional display. So that's Argentina.
And one more name to throw out there, not quite a veteran, but a guy that obviously has gone through very Florian Wirtz-like issues over the years in terms of injuries. You got to throw out Ezequiel Palacios, getting ready to play a major role in a major tournament. Only 25, so he's kind of the younger end of this. But I look forward to seeing him after such an amazing, important role for Bayer Leverkusen's success this season, seeing if he can translate that to also helping out Argentina.
Picked ahead of Alan Varela. He was picked ahead of Alan Varela, also a very good player from Porto.
Right, and there aren't many really young bucks on this team. Julian Alvarez is 24, and then it's Alejandro Garnacho who will be there and will definitely play a super sub role, potentially even get a start, maybe late in the group stages. But the one I was most surprised about is the one that, not surprisingly, got Leo Messi's endorsement. It was not the Valentine I was expecting to see on this roster, but it's Valentin Carboni.
Yes.
And he is at Inter. He is on loan, was on loan at Monza, who is a surprising, kind of a surprising package, I would say, in Serie A this past season. But most importantly, I think Messi, with his endorsement, really helped push the vibes of Carboni, because it looks like Inter is ready to part with him this particular offseason. So it's kind of an audition period. But there's this picture circulating of Valentin Carboni with his Lionel Messi, with his God, right, with his deity, as an 11-year-old. And then there's another picture in the recent friendly. I don't know if it was against Bolivia or who the opponent was, where he's literally slapping hands with Messi as Messi comes back from a opposing goal kick. But anyway, Carboni, if you're looking for young players to watch in Group A, Valentin Carboni, obviously Garnacho's a known package right now. And whether or not he can do it in an international tournament is going to be really interesting. But the one that I'm really circling is Valentin Carboni, because I don't think they brought him to kind of sit still. I think he will play a role, and you might even see a start for him. But yeah, 30 million is the price tag.
Argentina first, Canada second?
Yes.
First game, Argentina, Canada. What if Canada surprised the world like Saudi Arabia?
I don't know. I don't see it happening, but we will see if Jesse Marsch can pull off a stunner. I think Chile finishes second in this group. No, don't get me wrong. This is not the 2015, 2016 Copa America back-to-back winners, Chile, but they are running it back. They've got Alexis Sanchez, right? They do have, who else? Claudio Bravo, I guess, might still be on the roster. Eduardo Vargas might be still on the roster, but you don't have Gary Medel. You don't have Charles Aranguiz. You don't have Arturo Vidal, who was the absolute bulldog and the reason why they won those Copa Americas. And Alexis Sanchez isn't exactly 2015, 2016 Alexis Sanchez. So, yeah, I still think they're good enough to get above Canada. So I'm going to go Argentina win. I'm going to go runner-up is Chile, and I'm going to go Canada third and Peru.
Come on, Jesse Marsch. Make it happen for Canada and get that second place. I agree with what you said. I got the same here written down, but I've got this confidence that Jesse Marsch can make something happen because I saw that Canada-France game. I was surprised with that draw. I was one of the best displays. Yeah. And now with Group B, what are we thinking here with Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Jamaica? Venezuela has improved a lot in the past few years. Trusting the youth.
They have.
A team that was quite successful.
Yeah, Venezuela, they've got one of the youngsters, in my opinion, that you've got to watch. I just don't know how much playing time he's going to get. But Venezuela has Kervin Andrade, who already has 5 goals, I think, for Fortaleza.
Yes.
And he's already got he's 19. He's got his Brasileirão goal. I think he scored in his Copa Sudamericana debut. And he also scored in his Copa do Brazil.
Good player.
But he's got goals in major competitions for a major club. And one of kind of a handful of really young Venezuelans that could be good. I think they're going to fall short, though, because my dark horse for the tournament is going to lead the way, and I think it's Ecuador. Or should I say the Independiente del Valle Express. Because, dude, 10 over 40%. 40% of this roster can be traced back in some way to Independiente del Valle's academy, or they've played for Independiente before they've made a leap to Europe. And I just listen to these names. Ready? Listen to these names. In Ecuador's side, with the Independiente del Valle conveyor belt, Kendry Paez, Moises Caicedo, William Pacho, Piero Hincapié, Joel Ordóñez, Alan Minda, who's coming up with Cercle Brugge, Jose Hurtado, who plays for Red Bull Bragantino, Moises Rodriguez, who's a young goalkeeper that probably won't see time. But all those guys, they're U23. All U23, all IDV, and that's before we even go to Angelo Preciado. It's before we go to Alan Franco. We're now talking about 10 or 11 out of 26 players that can be traced back to Independiente. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. They don't get enough credit for what they're doing in South America. I mean, they really don't. They've won the Copa Sudamericana twice, and somehow have only won the Ecuadorian Serie A once over this time period. But it is a golden generation at Independiente del Valle because you mix them in with Barcelona SC, you mix them in with Emelec. You've got really solid talent in Ecuador. And if I'm not, singing their praises highly enough, this is who I pick to give Argentina a run for their money in the semifinals because there's a little wrinkle to Copa America that people might not know.
I completely agree with what you said. Completely.
But in the knockout rounds, Alex, you ready for this? In the knockout rounds, if it's tied, if it's drawn after 90 minutes, it goes straight to penalties.
Even better for Messi. Even better.
It might be, but it's also a chance to kind of even the playing field in that, because penalties are penalties, and it might not be Messi missing the kick. It could be somebody else in the squad. But I'm just saying, if you can out muscle or out whatever, keep them off the scoreboard for 90 minutes, there is hope that Messi in Miami on final day doesn't happen. And I think if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Ecuador out of Group B. It ain't going to be Mexico. It's not going to be Venezuela. And I can tell you right now, it's not going to be Jamaica.
Not Leon Bailey? Come on. Got to back Leon Bailey.
He's not playing.
Oh, so yes.
He's not playing.
No, for sure. It's not going to be Jamaica.
but yeah, Leon Bailey has decided not to play in protest, essentially, because I don't know whether it's because Duan Richards, the Chelsea wonder kid that was just signed, was not brought up, or if it is a protest against administration. But yeah, Mikel Antonio's there. You've got Demarai Gray. You've got some other names there. But come on, you put them up against Ecuador, Mexico, and Venezuela. I think they still finish dead last in Group B.
And the players you mentioned at the start of that list of Independiente del Valle with Piero Hincapié, William Pacho, Moises Caicedo, and the wonder kid, Kendry Paez, are all players that will be in this Ecuadorian team the next 10 to 15 years. So it's amazing the expectations that we're going to have and the development that we're going to see in Copa América. Kendry Paez should be talked a lot more than he is right now. That match of Independiente del Valle against Palmeiras, Kendry Paez was such a baller against Hendrik. And now people be more attentive, because this will be the tournament that people will start to notice a lot more Kendry Paez. We're saying this about Florian Wirtz with Germany. I will say it with Copa America with Kendry Paez, because if Ecuador surprised the world with Argentina, it's Kendry Paez, Moises Caicedo, Hincapié, and William Pacho having a big effect in that game. Completely. Group B, I go Ecuador first, and I'll go Mexico second, with Santiago Jimenez figuring it out in this national team and getting goals in the competition. So I put Ecuador first, Mexico second, Venezuela third, Jamaica fourth in Group B.
And I agree with that whole lineup there. Ecuador, Mexico, Venezuela, Jamaica. I think Venezuela is the team that can disrupt Mexico if they're not careful. So remember the name Kervin Andrade, but we also need to remember they have Jefferson Savarino. They've got Jefferson Soteldo. They've got Yangel Herrera.
Yes.
So they've got some players that are capable of playing with this Mexican side that I don't think is very good at this moment. And that's going to be really interesting. Another little thing that I got to say about this Kervin Andrade, 19 years old, the dude scored at the Bombonera. He silenced 90,000 people at the Bombonera against Boca Juniors in the Copa Sudamericana. Right, already at 19 years old. So if you don't know his name, you're going to know his name at the end of this tournament. But they also have a young fullback for Real Sociedad, John Arambaru, who also plays in this Venezuelan side. So Mexico has to watch out here. Mexico really does have to watch out, because the only young player I'm looking at with Mexico is Marcelo Flores. And based on what we're looking at, former Arsenal guy, based on what we're looking at, he's not even going to get that much playing time.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's old heads.
So let us know your predictions for Group A and Group B until now, and like this video for more videos just like this. Group C now. Well, US, Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia. What are your expectations here, Breton, as a US citizen?
Oh my gosh. Well, it gives me hope that we can play against a full-throated side like Uruguay, like we did with Brazil. Do I think we'll beat Brazil, or do I think we'll beat Uruguay this time around? No, but I do believe the only two times I believe that we faced them, or the last two times we've drawn them, which is really interesting to think about. But Uruguay is very good as it stands. So yeah, in Group C, I've got Uruguay winning. I've got the USA running up, the runners up. I've got Panama in third, and I think Bolivia is just not good. based on what I've seen in friendlies. And they're not even able to bring their one salvation, which is their wonder kid for the future, who plays for Always Ready. His name is Moises Paniagua. And you ready for this? You ready for why they're not able to bring him? Because he needed to get sign-offs from both of his parents. Yeah, exactly. Which kind of stinks for us, but at the same time, Bolivia, this is not Bolivia with Marco Echeverri or Jaime Moreno or any one of those guys. So they need to figure it out for the future. But listen, Uruguay, USA, this needs to be for the USA. This needs to be Panama convincing win, Bolivia convincing win. Exactly. Anything else, and I'm going to be very, very bummed because in spite of Berhalter, we have depth that should be able to solve a low Panama block, that should be able to solve a Bolivian defense.
Exactly.
But with that said, I mean, here's my here's my lineup that I want to see first day against Bolivia.
Yes.
We've got Turner at goalkeeper. We've got our back four as Jedi at left back, Chris Richards, Tim Ream. Joe Scally, I thought, did phenomenally well, as well as you could against Vinicius Jr. I want to see at DM Johnny Cardoso, Real Betis. I want to see the other midfielders being McKennie and Reyna. And then the front three, I think Pulisic very clearly looks ready to go. Balogun, I need to see grow into this tournament. I think he's a sleeper for potential Golden Boot. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he could actually start scoring. I think at some point it will click. And Timmy Weah on the right side.
Why not Pepe? I pick Pepe ahead of Balogun, personally.
Yeah, the physicality of Balogun and I just feel like we need to continue to work him in there. And Ricardo Pepi hasn't necessarily, at least in recent opportunities, hasn't necessarily shown that ability to make something out of nothing. Right? Balogun has that ability, even though he is consistently underwhelmed. He underwhelmed for Monaco this season. And even though he's got like 4 goals and 5 assists or whatever for USA since joining us, I would still quantify him as being underwhelming.
I'll say this. I see Balogun and Pepe one day completing each other on the pitch. I think Balogun is a lot more mobile, and Pepe is a clinical finisher. He gets the chances and
I like that.
Capitalizes on it. So I think the future of the U.S. could be more on that sense, but I believe you in saying Balogun will be the starter, and he's going to be the one that gets the chance at the start of this competition. But one thing's for sure, in my opinion, the U.S. men's national team shouldn't look at themselves as the contender to win Copa América right now. But you have a chance to be a dark horse, definitely. And a lot of people, I saw that they were extremely critical towards, extremely critical towards the expectations of the U.S. fans. And I don't believe U.S. fans think that they're going to win Copa América in U.S. soil, okay? So this is just a way of me saying to people that U.S. fans are not just going crazy, okay? right now and thinking they're going to win everything, because that's not the case. The true fans, because the development has been fantastic with this team. But you said Uruguay have to finish first in this group. My prediction in Group C of Copa América is Uruguay first, U.S. second. I go Bolivia third, and I'll go Panama fourth. Uruguay, in my opinion, are my contenders to win Copa América. I know for the bookies they're third, but Uruguay with Bielsa, they beat Brazil and Argentina in the last calendar year for the first time in 50 years. So the development that's being done is immense. Fede Valverde, Ronaldo Araújo, José Maria Jiménez, a Manu Ugarte that's not playing a lot for PSG, but he can be very important for Uruguay. Bentancur, Darwin Núñez. They've got talent to win Copa América. So don't be surprised if that will be the case. And even Matias Oliveira, very good fullback.
Yeah. This is a very this is also only the second time, right? Second time that a non-Uruguayan has led Uruguay into a major international tournament. So it feels Darwin Núñez is my pick for Golden Boot. I'm going to throw that out there. He is. He is. I think Messi's going to have more goal involvements for sure, but I think out and out goals. Darwin Núñez, if he plays against Panama, plays against Bolivia.
Hendrik is the Golden Boot winner. Imagine. That would be
Ronaldo,
crazy.
I think Ronaldinho would like that. But I, not to go back to the whole Ronaldinho critique, it feels a little really over the top.
It's good stuff.
But yeah.
And I understand the criticism. And this is what I like. Maybe Ronaldinho is playing chess with us, being critical with this national team. Because they have to show more passion, in my point of view. Hendrik has the aura, has the mentality, but now's the time to prove. Dorival has to start with Rodrigo, Vini, Hendrik as the front three. And if Hendrik doesn't start, at least he's got to go in the second half and play 45 minutes. Because this player has the mentality and the capabilities to change a game of football. And we saw it against England, and we saw it against Spain. Okay, and against Mexico. So 3 games against 3 good matchups that Hendrik showed up. So I wanted to say that.
I'm going to say it right now. I mean, I believe Colombia is the favorites to win Group D for me. Colombia is a better team at this moment in time. Brazil has the better collection of talent.
But
Brazil has, yeah. But,
so you're going to say Colombia finishes first in Group D, Bretson?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to say Brazil. Come on, Hendrik. Ooh. Come on, Rodrigo. Come on, the future. Oh, my days.
It's just, listen, Vinicius for Real Madrid is obviously a different beast right now. And you're right. Like, Neymar's absence will actually be felt in this, and I don't know if it's for the better. Heck, I don't even know what their first choice midfield is currently. For Brazil.
I think it's Douglas Luiz, Bruno Guimarães, and Paqueta. Yeah. I think those 3 players play. And for the people, you touched subject with Neymar, and I think it makes total sense. The future of Brazil, yes, Neymar will not be in Copa América, but in the next World Cup, I would expect, I know he said he will not be there, but I expect the future with Brazil with Neymar, okay? Neymar doesn't want Vini Jr. not to succeed. Neymar wants Vini Jr. to be the future of Brazil. He wants Hendrik. You can see that the pressure that this man had dealing and going against Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Come on, it's the expectations. Neymar is the 3rd best player of his generation. And yes, he will not be in Copa América, but I want to see Neymar in the future of Brazil. People say he doesn't have the right mentality. Are you mad? Have you seen the amount of goals, games, assists that Brazil with Neymar has? Neymar has been in the spotlight of football since the age of like 10, 11. You get to a point that you just have to take a break. And I think Neymar is at that point right now. And he will not be the same Neymar as we've seen in the past at Barca, PSG, but he will be a different version that will show qualities for Brazil in the future. I wanted to give this note to people because Neymar is being hated.
Yeah, well, yeah, unfairly. It's so easy to hit someone when they're down, isn't it?
Exactly.
So there's an agreement with Ronaldinho's critique. There's an agreement that this is not the same side, right? That had Romario, right? That had Ronaldo up top, Bebeto. I mean,
Cafu.
This is Cafu exactly.
The whole team.
It's not, and it's got a ways to go before it even gets closer. You need Baraldo. You need a lot of these younger guys, and even this midfield hasn't seen. They're all very good for their club levels, right? But in terms of becoming a cohesive unit for Brazil, that takes time.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really been given to them, and there's been a little turmoil, whether it's managerially. We all thought Ancelotti was going to be leading Brazil likely for the Copa America, and that U-turned. And then there was Dorival being announced, was kind of met with this kind of 50-50, hate it, love it type of situation. And they have a lot of personnel, but they just don't have the team just yet. And to win an international tournament against Argentina, Uruguay, and Colombia right now, I mean, I don't think Vinicius can do it alone.
This is, you see, it's the for me personally, Bretson, this is the weakest Brazil team on paper I've ever seen. And because of that, I expect a reaction from Vini, from a Rodrigo, from a Eder Militão that is already playing 90 minutes, from an Alisson or an Ederson, from a Danilo. veterans. I expect reaction from these players. And if Vini wants to win the Ballon d'Or, it's definitely being the best player in the tournaments in Copa America and proving the world wrong right now. Because if at the age of 23, yes, Vinicius is definitely top 3 players in the world of football right now. But you got to win these titles. And if Messi wins Copa America, the chat will be Messi is still better than Vinicius Jr. because he's got a team that plays towards his strengths. And Brazil, you don't feel like they're playing towards Vini's strengths right now. And Andrés Pereira, I said Douglas Luiz, but Andrés Pereira could start in this competition. Okay, Bretson? And not going against what you said about Colombia. Colombia is 24 no. 24 still? No. Colombia is 23 games unbeaten right now, okay? They've beaten the likes of Spain, Germany, Brazil, and they're very confident with Luis Diaz on the pitch. You can see that. Luis Diaz wants to be one of the best Colombians that has played football. I'm not saying he will be, but if he gets silverware with the Copa America right now, he will be definitely in line towards that happening. Colombia is the most informed team going to Copa America. So they should be seen as a contender. But if they're not, they're underdogs in my point of view. So I'll go Brazil first in Group D. Even though Colombia is like unbeaten in 23 games, I'll put Costa Rica third, and I'll put Paraguay fourth.
Ooh,
I believe I believe in Colombia going in second place. And yes, Costa Rica, even though they don't have those veterans, they have a new team.
Right.
So Group D's done. Who will win Copa America in the end of all this, Bretson? Who is your prediction?
Well, there is that wrinkle that it will go to penalties after 90 minutes, so we need to remember that at some point, but it doesn't necessarily change anything for me. I go knockouts. You got Argentina, Mexico, Ecuador, Chile, Uruguay, Brazil, Colombia, USA. My semis are then Argentina, Ecuador and Uruguay versus Colombia. And then I've got in the final Argentina versus Uruguay, and I'm going to say Argentina does the back-to-back. I think Argentina wins it.
Oh, Brazil need to do better.
Brazil in the mud for me.
Brazil in the mud completely for you, Bretson. Who will win? I'm going to say Argentina, but I hope Brazil does it. Golden Boot. Ooh. My prediction goes to Messi. I think Messi's going to get it done. I'd love Hendrik to be that guy, but young player of the tournament, instead of saying Hendrik, I will say Kendry Páez for Ecuador, because if Ecuador have a fantastic tournament, it's with Kendry Páez being one of the leaders of this team. Who are you? So
I like that pick. I mean, I like that pick, Kendry Páez but I'll say Golden Boot, my leader, my favorite, I think, is Darwin Núñez. He's done it throughout qualifying. He's scored against all these teams. He's scored against Argentina. He has scored against Brazil. I think he's going to do it again, even if they do lose in the final, based on my predictions. But I think Darwin Núñez will be up there. And obviously Messi's up there. And you got to shout out, obviously, Luis Diaz, right? Yeah. I think Luis Diaz has a really good shout at potentially winning a Golden Boot there. And oddly enough, I don't see a Brazilian scoring enough goals necessarily, even Vinicius, to get that far, or Endrick. But I love the shout of Kendry Páez because I do think for young player of the tournament, and I'm in full-throated agreement with you, simply because I think he's going to be given the keys essentially to Ecuador, or not the keys, but he is going to be part of this great young team, and he is going to see a whole bunch of time throughout this, and they are going to have to they're going to have to upset Argentina in the semifinals if they want to shock the world with this, or shock at least the Western Hemisphere. So Kendry Páez as a young player of the tournament. I think another shout out should be thrown out there for maybe Chile's Dario Osorio, who I think is very good. But I don't think Chile is going to get far enough that he would be that instrumental. And I would love to see a U.S. guy, but I think a lot of them are 21, 22. They might not even qualify for young player of the tournament. So Kendry Páez is a great shout.
So let us know down below who will win Copa America, who is your Golden Boots, and who will be the young player of this tournament. We're here at the end. We told you guys we're going to talk about transfers. Here at the end, we want to mention the transfers of managers, I believe, right, Breton? Because Brighton went bold with this decision. Former St. Pauli manager Fabien Hurtzler. Am I saying it right?
Hurtzler. Yeah, Hurtzler. And listen, there is a lot of talk, Alex, about whether or not he's American, whether or not whatever. Born and raised, I believe, in the Houston, Texas area. No, he was not here long, but he did play for our youth national teams for a while. And then he's obviously made his managerial career in Germany, much like a lot of the guys that have come through our systems, like Jermaine Jones back in the day and Fabian Johnson. And then now you've got plenty of guys. Even Weston McKennie grew up at some time in Germany. But Fabian Hurtzler, no, I would say he's German-American in some respect. But my gosh, going from St. Pauli, taking them from relegation, essentially, relegation-threatened St. Pauli, to bringing them back to the Bundesliga in about 18 months' time, that deserves some credit. Whether or not that it's too big of a step to then go to the Premier League is really interesting, let alone to cement yourself in Premier League history as the youngest manager ever. 31 years old, Alex.
Mad.
31.
And James Miller is an assistant coach, and he's 38. So
yeah, I think he's older than, or I think 6 players on the Brighton roster right now are older than he is.
Mad. That is completely mad that that's the case. Lewis Dunk is older than him. And he's playing
definitely.
in the Euros. So that is definitely
crazy.
something that we have to be attentive. Another mention I want to do in the podcast fast would be the managerial situation in Bundesliga clubs. Bayern has Vincent Kompany, Xabi Alonso with Bayer Leverkusen, and now Nuri Sahin with Dortmund. Okay, Edin Terzic has said he's going to leave, and Sahin could be the manager that can surprise a lot of people and make Dortmund be the team to dethrone Bayer Leverkusen and not Bayern Munich, as a lot of people are thinking. So I just wanted to give that heads up.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's been a period of time, right, in managerial history, or at least it feels very pronounced this particular season, where your CV, your resume, doesn't necessarily need to be peppered with amazing managerial roles or amazing managerial success to then get a really big shot at, really big clubs, right? I mean, these are humongous steps up for some of these managers. Vincent Kompany, Nuri Sahin is now going from, he was an assistant coach, then he went to Antalyaspor, and he then became the manager there. I mean, to varying degrees of success, and now he's back at Dortmund, though, in front of the yellow wall. And it seems like people are ready for maybe new ideas.
True.
Right?
Completely.
That's kind of what it comes down to. And like the NFL went through this. Anyone that follows American football over here, they started appointing more analytical, more data proven guys, younger people. And I think you're starting to see this really pick up weight all across of world football. And I'm really intrigued. Like, it's making it almost more interesting, Alex, than the actual transfer window for players.
Completely. And I do think that the rise of these decisions of managers come from the sporting directors getting a lot more power inside of a club too. Because back in the day, a manager would say if the transfer went or not. Okay, Ferguson would see the player and would want that player. Right now, no. You need a sporting director, you need a scouting team, and you need the manager, obviously, to give his input too. But he's not the only one anymore. So the world of football has changed a lot with what you said, the database and analytics in football. And my last mention would be Roberto De Zerbi. The surprise for a lot of people, that Roberto De Zerbi will be coaching Olympique de Marseille. And for people to say, he's having a downgrade, I disagree completely. He's having a downgrade, exactly. A downgrade in terms of a league, from Premier League to Liga, true. But from Brighton to Marseille, to say it's a downgrade in terms of reputation of that club, people that say this do not know ball. Olympique Marseille is, as you just said, a sleeping giant in the world of football. And I remember Lyon, Marseille dominating and Monaco dominating the French league. Not PSG. So Marseille, let's see what he's gonna do there.
I'll be watching that as well. It's pretty insane. And then the news that has come out that Manchester United looks to be moving forward with Eric Ten Hag. Not quite a transfer,
exactly,
but it seems like they're getting closer to announcing they're going to back him, and they're going to give him some time. And you know what? That's a decision. At least they made a decision.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if it's the right one, but you're going to have to accept it and move forward and see what happens here. But going back to Ligue 1, the other one that was really interesting, Will Still. Moving on from Stade Reims, gets, I guess you could say, an upgrade to Lens, who were in the Champions League and fell out of it this particular season. But he'll get probably a little bit bigger of a budget, and we'll see what has to happen there. But yeah, really interesting. Team. And a little tongue-in-cheek with the whole managerial transfer market being hotter than the Wonder Kid transfer market, because my goodness, that has been hot as of late. And the only person I think that loses in this is, or the only club, is Palmeiras. They can't hold on to a Wonder Kid long enough to have him make, like 10 appearances anymore.
True.
But yeah, we've got Luis Guilherme going from Palmeiras to West Ham for 23 million, plus could go up to like 30 million euros. Quite the roll of the dice for Julian Lopetegui now. But it is really interesting if they get not just Luis Guilherme, but they also wind up getting another target, which is Matthias Sule, who is likely in the transfer market. But West Ham, I like it. It just feels not West Ham. And I know you're going to mention Lucas Paqueta, but Luis Guilherme is much younger and much less proven.
Yeah, voters.
And it's interesting.
You have, what was the Emerson? Palmieri also went to West Ham, but from Chelsea.
Would we say that worked?
Kudus, African player from Ajax.
Right.
Well, I do see West Ham accepting that they have to go a different approach. But yes, it's definitely unexpected. A bit like Crystal
It's like buying a lottery ticket. They're buying a lottery ticket, right? They're hoping that it hits big. And I mean, between Palmeiras, Wonder Kids going out the door, we've got Luis Guilherme, Danilo a couple years ago, but we've got Endrick, obviously, and we've got Messinho, who is headed to Chelsea. We think hasn't been fully confirmed yet, but between those four. In just the last few seasons, that's 100 million euros that have gone in the door to Palmeiras, which is absolutely insane.
And Gustavo Scarpa, that was also a really good player in Palmeiras that he left, and now he's returned to Brasileirão. So, interesting enough, let us know down below what are the transfers that you want to see in next podcast, episode 162. Thank you so much for listening until now. And if you're listening to, like this video for more videos just like this. And again, people, thank you so much for going bold with us here in another podcast.